I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cuccio? Here. Mr. Fritz?
Here.
Mr. Hagan?
Here.
Ms. Hunt? Here. Mr. Kennedy?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Ryder? Here. Ms. Turner? Here. Ms. Wick? Here. All right.
Thank you. On the agenda is discussion on board meetings and how we'll operate board meetings starting next month. I personally would like to see it on in person only, but we can have this discussion. So,
this is Megan. I have no problem with also referring to in person. I think at this point, not only with the pandemic, but what we have heard from our constituents for the last few years, I think they would like an online option, whether it's recorded and posted after people to be able to be a part of, or continue to be live streaming, so that people who either don't feel comfortable coming out public or doing quarantine. I mean, there's a chance that members of this board will be quarantined will have to tune in for these meetings. So I think it's a disservice to not only us as a board, but the public to not offer some type of online option, whether that's simply viewing, great interactive with, and also ask questions. But I have no issue if we did both in person.
No, I would agree. I think a lot of the, not the majority of the organizations I'm involved in are doing things hybrid. And I think it just makes it easier given people's schedules and allowing the public to be involved and still have that access. So I would agree. I think a hybrid model is better.
Same for that. I would agree. I'd like to see public be able to zoom in when they want. I would prefer to see any of the live questioning happen live in the audience only for a number of reasons. Just we've seen a lot of the audio issues we've had. The audio issues a lot of times stem from the program we need to use to allow feedback online versus other programs that we could use if we're just live streaming. So I would prefer to see us live stream it, not do the interactive portion, so that we can offer a better product to people who want to listen. And then for the feedback, if we really want to present something, present that.
when you're saying feedback, like public comments.
Public comment would not be allowable online, only so they can view online.
The concern I have about that is that's really not giving them the dual option of public participation. And we've been doing the dual option for how long?
We have in the past.
We're doing it now, right?
Yeah.
And the issue is, I mean, it's not perfect, but
Yeah. The number of complaints about not being able to hear, I want to make sure what we can do for most of the people is an acceptable level.
I think it would address for people in this room.
When that speaker's on.
I think it's better.
yeah.
I think it's better than it was.
And the matching is always an issue too, I think, for certain people and certain points of.
You're saying I'm not loud enough. Let me talk louder.
No, I'm just saying that I might be in the same category as you.
Social distance is not a concern anymore as far as the CDC, so we are allowed to use, because this is the room we have to use if we continue to do on an online.
There's no
Because none of the other
mandates.
rooms worked.
No.
So, and this is small, but we could maybe, allow so many and then have a max and people would have to, I mean, that's a concern that we had. That was one of the.
It was for lack of investment. It's not that we were
tried
going to spend
every
money. It was a lot of money spent in 3 different rooms, a lot of money to try to make that work. And the audio just never seemed, you could just never get it right. And the feedback I think we heard was to do a 2-way. It was not, my understanding is the program that we used was not intended to be used as a 2-way communication. When we allowed that, that was causing a lot of the issues that we're having. Again,
And all the
that
other,
was the answer I got when we were pressing.
and I think what's reassuring is all the other school districts and all these municipalities are doing it successfully.
2-way though?
Yes,
They're doing good.
so that's my question.
Yeah.
This is Leanne. I think we should offer both. I think the community wants to be heard, whether they feel comfortable coming in person or online.
Great, so can I have a motion to have the meetings, I guess, in person and online, and which that would entail public comment happening in the room first if you're here, and happening second if you're on Zoom. Can we kind of agree with that?
Yeah, this is Megan, so maybe.
Ms. Nicole, second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Right, so starting next month, we will have an in-person availability. In-person availability would be allowed to have public comment first, just like we were doing last time. And then the Zoom people can do public comment second.
You've been doing that for the last several months.
Yeah, that's how we've done it.
And it has been better in here. The question is if we grow out of this room.
Jordan has one.
May I suggest to keep it in the boardroom?
Yeah, we're gonna.
Yeah,
we're gonna-
other rooms can add the microphones, it causes more.
Both libraries,
Yeah,
the
both
large group
libraries.
rooms.
It's much better in here because it's a smaller room and we can control the audio much in a much better way.
So that was our technology personnel that performs all this.
So
So I
John, this will
appreciate
not
it.
be effective next week, but it'll start in February, the first February board meeting. Is that what you're
We've
saying?
been doing, that's essentially what we've been doing.
We
But
can
not
start-
in person.
start
Yeah,
next
we can,
week.
if we agree with it now and we all vote on it, then we can start next week in person.
Okay, okay, so next week, 11th, January 11th.
Barring any CDC change.
Yeah, that would be, if there's no mandates involved in.
Right.
And how many seats are in here? What is our maximum capacity?
There's 20 chairs right there.
20 chairs?
So I need a roll call or just a, we, all in favor, aye? Want to do a roll call?
No, you just, I think you already did that.
Yeah,
You
you
already
already
did it.
Yeah, okay. Motion passed.
Oh, yeah.
Board reports, Kevin, for foundation?
I don't have anything, this evening, we'll have our first meeting of the new year in 2 weeks.
Protect?
So we had the reorganization meeting on the 16th. Votech received a grant for $12,500. They're gonna purchase an outside welder for the welding program. And they're gonna plan on surveying the 8th grade students to see where their interests are, to see how they can better fit everybody's interests. That's it.
So that's all we have tonight for board reports. I missed the student council. Is anyone from student council in the Zoom world out there? Student council available? Well, next week we'll be live, so I hope to see you then. Moving on to public comment on agenda items only. Is there anyone, obviously not in the room, but is there anyone on the Zoom that wish to have public comment on agenda items only? Is there anyone on Zoom that would like to have public comment on agenda items? Seeing none, we'll move forward. Yeah, there's nobody there. I was trying to read something. Yeah, we had a closed session prior to this meeting for personnel. We will have a closed session afterwards for personnel and legal. So moving on with the agenda, we'll look to approve the minutes next month or next week. And under personnel, numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7. Can I have a motion to approve?
Kevin, so moved.
Justin, second.
So I have Kevin and Nicole. Questions, comments? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
I have a motion to table, under personnel, can I have a motion to table number 6?
Also moved.
Anthony second.
Nicole first and Anthony second. Board discussion, comments? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
So that'll be tabled until next week. Informational items, 1 and 2, we'll discuss that next week. Under finance, consider 1 through 11 next week, next meeting. And under programs, can I have a motion to approve numbers 1, 2, and 3?
Megan, so moved.
Justin, second.
So Megan's first and Justin second. Board discussion, comments?
Did you see one of our students trained as a good teacher?
Oh, wow. Any other board comments? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay? So that passes. So next week we'll consider is number 4, 5, and 6 under programs. Next week we'll consider the policies. Number 1, no buildings or grounds. I know that other will consider 1 through 6 at the next meeting. Moving on to public comment. Is there anyone wish to have public comment this evening? Open forum. Is there anyone wish to have public comment? No one out in the Zoom world wants to comment? No one in the room? Seeing none? I'll move forward then. So MAEA, is there anyone from the association wishing to speak at this point?
Good evening, everybody. This is Sharon Lipnicki from the association. Just wanted, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to wish everybody a happy new year. We also would like to welcome the new board members. And with the new year comes new hopes. We are looking forward to working with the administration and the school board in hopes of coming together to make decisions on what's best for the education of our students. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Administration reports, Dr. Gross.
Just welcome everyone back. I know hopefully everybody was refreshed and ready to return. Unfortunately, it's no big secret that COVID is back and it's hitting rather hard. We're continuing to monitor that situation. Just a little bit of an announcement. Tomorrow, we're required every 6 months to review our health and safety plan. So tomorrow at 4 to 5 o'clock, we have a federal programs ESSER meeting / safety plan. Part of getting the ESSER funds was to have a health and safety plan in place. So the first part of the meeting, we have a committee where we talk about how we're expending our ESSER funds, getting feedback from that committee, but more importantly, going back to COVID, we are going to be reopening and reviewing our current health and safety plan and try to get a gauge from the committee if there's any recommended changes to our current protocols or if anything else they'd like added or deleted. So I'd like to report back to the board next week if there's any new recommendations regarding the health and safety plan. So just for those in the community that are online, I know it's a frustrating situation, but I said when I started last July, education is so important. Our goal is to try to keep schools open. I think you've seen all the research about some of the things that have occurred with the remote learning last year. So I'm getting a little bit of flurries of folks questioning, will we be open? So I'd like to say emphatically, barring any objections from the board, our goal is to remain open, make sure our protocols are in place that keep us as safe as possible, and continue to stay in the business of educating children and making it a safe place. So that safety committee will meet tomorrow. And if there's any recommendations for changes in the plan, I'll share that with the board.
Can you just remind us what that committee's consists of? I mean, it's community members. It's
a cross section of everyone. It's teachers, community members, administrators, school board members, students. Yeah. So, and again, the reason the safety plan's under that federal funding committee is because ESSER, for us accepting the ESSER funds is what prompts us to have our health and safety plan in place. So tomorrow we're going to review all of the things we're doing with the ESSER funds, try and make education better for our students, where we're expending those monies, to try to garner support for that and also get feedback. And then, like I said, the second part we'll be talking, reviewing our current safety plan to see if there's any recommendations to make that even better. So yeah, it's a cross section of the entire school community.
Great, thank you. Dr. McMahon?
Just an FYI for our incoming kindergarten students this fall, it will be here before we know it, just due to the spike in COVID. This year, just like last year, we will not hold the kindergarten preview date. That's just a whole lot of bodies coming into the building. And so what we're going to do, like we did last year, is we'll be handing out our registration packets in February on the 24th and the 25th. Again, this is way early. It's just for anyone out there to kind of get their schedules kind of situated and ready, because we'll be giving out the packets out of the admin office, and we'll be posting this on the website, and I'll be saying this again and again and again. But February 24th and the 25th, and we'll be going from 9:30 to 2 o'clock. That way it doesn't interfere with our incoming traffic, dropping students off in the morning and our parents picking up in the afternoon. So again, 9:30 to 2 p.m. And then what we'll do is on that following Monday, which is going to be the 28th, following the 28th, we'll have the Adams Township Police Officer select the lottery ticket. So again, the kindergarten registration packets as well as the lottery ticket. And oftentimes we get parents calling to say, do I have to participate in the lottery? The answer is no. The lottery gives parents an option of a selection, a potential option of selection. And historically, it has been that the PM session historically has never filled up. But I always tell parents that the one time you don't come to the lottery, it would be the time that it would fill up. So there's never a guarantee with that. But again, it'll be the 24th and 25th of February. We'll have registration packets available, as well as lottery tickets, and we'll be here to answer questions about the packets and the whole registration process. So again, just giving everybody far in advance, just again to get their schedules kind of situated. So we'll continue on that one. Thank you.
Dr. McMahon, are you able to get a lottery ticket and then give it to your neighbor?
No, you are not. No,
I'd like to sell it to you.
Or sell it.
Yeah.
The landscaping service is nothing. No, you are not. When we hand out the tickets, we also attach it to the student name. And so if we staple it to the registration packet, and we remind parents that when you come to the registration, lottery registration, which will be in March at the Centennial Building, even though the Centennial Building, they must show their registration ticket. I've had parents show it on a phone, picture, no, can't do that. You must physically have your registration lottery ticket connected to your packet. So, you may not sell or share. Thank you.
It's hard to believe one thing about kindergarten registration. Ms. Branstetter. Mr. Schroeder.
Nothing to I want to thank Josh publicly again. Just a different world we're living in, so he's doing a lot of communicating. And there's a lot of meeting with me, who I'm sure sometimes I drive him crazy, but we're trying to get as much information out as quickly as we can. So I just want to thank you again, Josh. It's been a tough year and a half.
Thank you, Josh.
The holidays loved it. We still keeping up with all of it. It was great.
And Ms. Snow, administrators. Board discussion. I'll start with this side of the room.
I just did one question, just from one of the emails we received, and I know you sent out the updated COVID protocols.
Correct.
And it said that a home test temporarily is allowable. The one thing that maybe I missed when I read through it is, if there is a home positive test, will that qualify somebody to be able to use LSI?
Yes.
Okay. So I think that was clear, and somebody had asked that
And I
question.
think we found rather quickly coming back, and obviously the reason for that is not trying to be difficult, but it's hard to really tell who that test came from, if it came from home.
Right.
But we found it rather quickly. The test, to ask parents to schedule appointments, we're not only putting extra load on the healthcare facilities, we're having them wait a week, week or more. So, yeah.
What's the protocol if, say, I test positive and my child is not?
If you're positive and your child is not, if you're a close contact, if you can tell us you can isolate, then your child comes. But if you are telling us there's no way you can isolate because of the age of your child, whatever,
Right.
it's recommended that you're contacted.
Okay, so can they,
And it's 5 days now.
okay, so can they do LSI?
Yes.
Okay.
If they're a close contact, they could, if they're identified as a close contact, yeah.
So the parent would have to show their positive test, is that
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. And so once that's done, and it can be a home test as well.
Correct. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about tomorrow. I'll share very openly. One of the things I want to talk about is the contact tracing. And I'm not a medical expert, but I just want to share some of the things. I've been reading a lot of research about, are we over quarantining children, asymptomatic children? And I think that's some of the frustration we hear from parents. You know, it's like, you're sending my child home and there's no symptoms. It's easy for us to say, oh, we'll send a child home, but we are really creating some home situations that aren't favorable. We did, and it's not a valid or reliable tested study, but last year we had somewhere in the neighborhood of 800 and some quarantined students just because they were contact traced. And to our recollection, this summer, we went back and studied and realized, I believe it was 1, possibly 2, out of all of those hundreds we quarantined that actually ended up subsequently becoming positive. So because I'm not medically qualified, I'm going to take that to the committee. And there's some physicians that can be nameless are also questioning why our schools sending asymptomatic children home, knowing it's a recommendation, but are we over quarantine? I don't have the answer to that, but obviously this committee will represent the community's thoughts. Right now, we are doing the 5-day, what the Department of Health is recommending, whether you're a close contact or not. There are other schools, I don't know about locally, I don't want to sell any locals, but I've looked where other schools have made a decision that contact tracing, that it will be simply a notification to parents to keep an eye on children, and as long as they're asymptomatic, they allow those children to come back.
I think we still should notify people.
Yes.
My mother lives with me and she's in her 80s on autoimmune medicine. So if there is exposure for Delaney, I would need to know that for her sake also, because my husband being a physician of color. I mean, I'm gonna need to know that.
Exactly, I think, and I think it's actually one thing that we're absolutely positive of. We will definitely, no matter where this goes, a parent will know if a child has been a contact traced in a contact tracing situation. And I'm not saying where that discussion is going to happen.
Right.
I am going to lean on that committee. But yeah, there's 2 trains of thought there. And again, I'm not medically qualified. I'll say it over and over and over to say what's right, wrong, because I know what it's being recommended they stay home. But we're also we're creating some difficult situations in some households when kids are not symptomatic. So I don't know if it'll be a choice. I'm not contacting the parent making it a choice. Whether it'll be, you know what, no, we're not going to go against the recommendations. We're going to stick to the way it is now. But that's one of the key points that we want to talk to that committee about tomorrow. And if there's recommendations out of that committee, we'll bring it to the board. And the thing with the health and safety plan is it's already been uploaded and accepted. We just have to have 6-month reviews. We don't necessarily have to upload our every version, but we are forced to talk about it. And if we make changes, we will we'll notify parents. But again, it's same as last year. I'll editorialize. We have folks all over the place. I respect all of the commentaries I get because I can't argue with any one side. Yeah, I'm just not medically qualified to do that. But again, it's a hot topic. People are very sensitive now that we're surging again, and I just want to make sure that whatever we do, that we're taking the microcosm of our community and we're using that as our basis for making decisions. And that committee should hopefully do that. It's a cross section of various folks.
I just wanted to add on with Anthony's question, the home test, everyone would be able to read on the email that went out that you do have to provide I think the box and some, just so people are aware to read that if you do take a home test, to keep the portion that the school will require to show that.
Yeah, we're asking for the barcode to be scanned, and there's a lot number.
Okay.
And what that does is, it's not that we're untrusting, but what that does is it allows us to then, we'll keep a spreadsheet, allows us, especially with that lot number, to make sure that we're not getting the same test for 2 different individuals, so that we're not taken advantage of that way. Obviously, I don't think our community does that, at large, but unfortunately, it's a protection to make sure that if we're accepting those home tests, that creates some layer of validity to it.
So yes, since I'm at it, go to the 2 questions that were asked regarding the LSI. The LSI, and I don't know if that makes sense to kind of add that in there just to be sure, that whether it's a close contact or either any test that was the qualify. Because I don't think that was clear in what I read.
Yeah, and basically what it comes down to is try to put it in general terms that's understandable. If we're telling a child you can't come, well, we're required by law to educate. So obviously, if we're saying you can't come because we're quarantining, we need to have an educational option. So that's why we will be offering LSI to anyone we're saying stay home.
And that's only the people you're saying to stay.
Correct.
People can't choose just to
Correct.
Stay in.
Unless they're close contact to a family member.
Right, but yeah, as long as they can't just stay up there until the kids school.
Right. And there is, I mean, there's a segment of our community that would like us to, because of the surge, give the LSI option again. But I need to say over and over, lifeboat last year, maybe it'll need to be a lifeboat again this year. I'm not real sure, but the reality is, I think it's fair to say, I'm not in the classroom, but in talking to the teachers last year and in hearing some of the things, if you offer an LSI option and have a large number of students at home, it does compromise the teacher's ability to concentrate and to focus on what's happening in the classroom. So I'm not saying it's gravely detrimental, but it does take a lot out of our staff to try to manage two sides of the spectrum there, and it also I think it takes away from the live instruction that occurs. But we'll keep our eye on that too. I'm not closed-minded to that. I said it was a lifeboat last year. Depending on where we wind up, it may need to be a lifeboat again. Right now we're quarantining so many students. It's almost there's quite a few people already out there. So that's why tomorrow in the discussion with the safety committee, I'll talk about our quarantining, our contact tracing and our quarantining protocols, what we feel is most important for health and safety, but also to keep our education of quality, when it's occurring in the classroom. So.
Well, I'm not on that committee, so I just like to say one thing. During this surge, teachers will be most likely doing LSI regardless, because there will be at least a child quarantining, right?
So right now, probably.
I think it would behoove us to at least consider those children who do have immunocompromised situations, and we family members that are extremely immunocompromised that are legitimately quarantining, to at least, if there's a doctor's excuse. I'm not saying I understand the teacher's concern of making a kind of carte blanche for everyone, but I do think that there are people in this community who truly do need to be protected, and we need to make sure we're doing what we can do for them.
And I agree, and I have to say, that's one of the stressors I know Dr. McMahon and I were talking about today. It was a burden. I want to recognize that there are people like that out there that really need us. So it's tough. It's just tough trying to make those decisions right now. But
because I think those of us with healthy children often forget that there are children in ours who maybe have comorbidities that would put them at an extremely great risk. And during the surge, it's something that we really need to be considering, is the opportunity for them to still have that access safely.
That's great. So that's one of our struggles with COVID. Every business has its struggles. It's one of the things we're struggling with. We don't want anybody left behind, but we don't want to open it to the point that we're a little bit out of control yet, for lack of a better word. So, but that's all. We'll be bringing more recommendations back next week. It may be stay the course as we're now, or there may be some real good recommendations that come out of that meeting.
And the compromises coming forth from other districts, a lot of times I think we have to come up with a new plan, but when you look at what other people are doing, I have friends in other districts where instead of quarantining their children, they're just required to mask for 5 days. So they can still come in person, but because they're close contact, they mask. And I hope that parents, all of this is changing every day, and I'm on the school board and I work in healthcare, and every day I'm like, wait, can you go to school, kid? I don't know. If you feel like your child should be on LSI because you tested positive, and maybe there's a disconnect in communication between you and administration in that particular building, whether it be the principal or whomever, don't be afraid to ask again and explain the situation. If you think that you're not getting information, I've had some friends reach out to me and say, hey, their sibling tested positive, but they're saying they can't have LSI. Well, that's not the correct way if they are in fact a close contact. So don't be afraid to ask again if you feel you're not communicating effectively, or follow that chain of command to go to Dr. McMahon or Dr. Gross to explain what's happening.
Good point.
And thank you, Josh. I love when my inbox is empty and then you fill it right back up. We're very appreciative.
Josh is doing a stellar job.
Yeah. Any other board comments?
I had a quick question from a member, Vivek. When will the school calendar be approved? Is it March? I think last year was March. You're probably working on it right now, but
we actually are in the middle of working on it.
I figured.
I would think around March.
thought it was
Or
March
do we,
meeting.
it's always February.
I'd like to get to that.
By February, okay. I was just
We
curious. if
think
someone
we
said-
have it, depending on your
So it
feedback.
might be approved in February, maybe March the latest, probably. Okay, in case anybody
Yeah,
else was
we have
wondering.
it correct.
Okay.
Any other board comments?
Happy New Year.
Yes, happy New Year.
I get a motion to adjourn?
Kevin, so moved.
Sally, second.
You did at the beginning.
So Kevin first and Sally second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Have a good night, everyone.
Yeah, it's all right.